Close to a decade and a half ago, I got to move here, Wonderland. Yellowstone National Park, the place of geysers, hot springs, waterfalls, and grizzly bears. And for someone coming straight out of a master's degree in wildlife ecology, I was in my element. Each day was filled with magic, from the birth of a baby bison, maybe just the way the grasses moved in a breeze, or waking up in the morning to something like this. The howl of a wild wolf. And for someone who's been an educator since the age of 12 and frankly capable of great harangue, there were things about this place I just couldn't articulate with words. And honestly, this frustration grew to the point where it came to resemble some form of expressive constipation, which in time didn't get better, it just got worse until I had an epiphany. I'd grown up in my mother's sculpture studio, and around the time my dad was diagnosed with cancer, I went back to help Mom with some projects so she could get done faster and be with Dad sooner. And a light bulb went on. Art, this piece of my past, had now come to the rescue of my present. I'd grown up with it. I'd been around it so long I couldn't even see it, like that sign on your back that everybody can read. But instead of saying, "kick me," mine read, "do sculpture." And so if I couldn't put something I experienced into words, maybe I could put it in this, some clay. And so the importance of art for me was made clear not long after. I was out in the park one morning on a bluff, and as I looked to the east, I saw a wolf out on that very same bluff. And it wasn't just any wolf, it was the alpha female of the Druid Peak pack. And as I watched her, from out of the trees behind her came 4 little puppies. It was moving day. She was taking those pups away from the den for the very first time and out across the valley floor to the pack's rendezvous site, which is a place they kind of meet, greet, generally just hang out, babysit the pups. But this move only happens one day each year. And this was the day. So as the pups gathered around her, she took them down the slope and across the park road. And you could tell these puppies were experiencing asphalt under their puppy feet for the first time because they're walking around like this. And they made it, but they got across without incident. And likewise across the flooding waters of Soda Butte Creek, which was just beyond. Then they came to the Lamar River. It was a brown, frothing torrent at this point. And Mom gathered the pups at the water's edge, almost as if to say, "Okay, now, follow me, children." And she walked off across the river. The pups were like, "Yeah, right." And she turned around in time to see this one black pup lead all of the others in the opposite direction. Kids. Back across the river she went. And as she gathered the pups up again, she carried something in her mouth. A rock or a stick, but she used this object like a lure. Walking up to each pup, "I've got something for you. If you want it, you have to follow me." And back she gathered them at the river's edge. Again she crossed. Again she looked back and saw the pups walking in the opposite direction. Back and forth, 7 different times she did this. And eventually they went out of view around a bend in the river. But the next view I had of them, they'd made it. There were all 4 pups in a single line, like little soldiers behind their mother, headed for the rendezvous site. It was beautiful. It was cool in that way that I just could not put in words. But perhaps now I could put it in this. And so if we're going to use a medium to tell a piece of our story, we have to know its capabilities and its limitations. So do I need wire inside the clay? Or also, I need to know my subjects from the inside out. And this isn't always easy to do in a wilderness setting, mind you. There are great lengths you have to go to, or in other cases, great heights, like here where I'm stuck up a tree watching moose, but it allowed me to speak to these animals like this. Similarly, you have to know that your wild subjects may critique your work. And these tourists are delighting in the fact they get to watch this elk eat one of my sculptures. Thank you very much. Week's worth of work gone. So, in that vein, was it a wolf or was it a coyote? Similar species at the heart of the river crossing story. Was it a coyote with big pointed ears and a small pointed muzzle? Or was it a wolf with a more robust nose and muzzle and more rounded ears? Or was it a Labrador retriever? Was it a male or a female leading those pups? How can you tell? Well, there's more to it than that. And you have to know it all to the point where it's second nature, literally at your fingertips. So while I've been talking here, I've been downloading, I've been putting all the information from every wolf encounter I've ever had into this one bit of clay and wire. So I ask you now, does it mean anything? This data, this raw information. And it might jog a memory for you or a thought about one of your own experiences, but for me, I would emphatically say no. It doesn't get to the heart of what I experienced that morning in the park. So allow me, if you will, to make a few adjustments. And to be honest, it's not too tough to make a wolf. The challenge arises is when we try to infuse this thing with an inner landscape, to model in those elements that give it true meaning. This is where the true challenge arises. If there's anything we crave as human beings, it's meaning. And so this is where the art comes in. For me, that wolf was a metaphor from my own mother, my dad, wild places. And check this out. This is low on details. This is crude, okay? There's no eyes. There's no nostrils. There aren't even feet. Yet this is still filled with meaning. It's different, isn't it? Different than that first version. This sculpture for me was about looking out for the ones you love. It's about forging ahead despite the obstacles in life. And with a little more time and effort, a life-size bronze of this came to look like this. In the end, though, it's really not about clay. It's not about wolves, frankly, even about Yellowstone. It's about that vast, unspoken magic I feel lingering between my words and our world. If there's one gift we can give ourselves, it's to be conscious of this beauty that's around us each and every day. Second only to that is to share it with others, whatever your medium happens to be. For me, this very personal journey led me to understand the importance of the arts in my life. It is about sharing. It's about communicating in a way that nothing else can. I tell my story, but not just as an individual. It's as a member of a community, a culture, a species. I think of these artistic expressions that we bring into our world as a collection of relics that we leave behind for future generations. The arts are important. It's not just about making pretty things. Thank you.